Hello and welcome back to some TorchPrep videos. I'm Rex with TorchPrep. We're in test 2, number 22 in the math test. So before we get started, go ahead, turn in the red book to test 2, number 22. Press pause on this video before you read the problem. When you're done reading it, press play for the rest of the explanation. Excellent. So here we got a word problem about Damien's incredibly fast, cool car. Now my boy Damien wants to know, what is the max speed to stop at 150 feet distance? Okay? That defines what is step 1 of our word problem strategy. Now what you're going to find, there is some algebra we have to do here, but it's not that bad. So if you are good at word problems, our word problem strategy helps you whiz through these. This is something you could definitely do in the survey portion. If word problems still slow you down too much, great question to skip and save for the second section of our survey, the work portion of the test. Now, we know what we're trying to find. That's step 1 of the word problem strategy. Step 2, what do we already know? We are given a formula. This formula tells us exactly the relationship between the distance and the speed when trying to stop. Basically, a formula describing how the function of the brakes of this car work. It also tells us the two variables, y represents feet, x represents the speed. Now, what we are going to do is to find the speed at a distance of 150 feet. We are going to plug in that into the equation and solve for x. So it's a little bit hairy. We've got some binomials coming up. Don't worry, I know we can handle this. Jump right in. So I'm going to fit in 150 as y. And I still have that whole other mess on the other side. 3x squared plus 10x is what I'm looking for, plus 10x. All of that over 40. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to isolate x. I'm going to multiply both sides times 40. That's going to get that 40 out of this side with the x. So 150 times 40, that is 6,000. I have 6,000 equals 3x squared plus 10x. Now, if I divide both sides by 3 right now, what I'm going to get is now 2,000 equals x squared plus 10x. Now what I want to do is to solve for x. And you know what? This makes it a little hard, but you know when you take two binomials and you FOIL them together? I'm going to get it more looking like that kind of formula. So I'm going to make 0 on this side by subtracting 2,000 from both sides. So I'm going to get rid of the 2,000 here by subtracting 2,000. 2,000 from both sides. So what I have now is x squared plus 10x minus 2,000. Okay, now how can we solve for x? Basically what you have to do is you have to backwards FOIL. Okay? Pretty weird, I know. This trinomial, we're going to turn it back into two binomials. So if you think about it, we want to know what is the correct value of x. What value of x is going to give us 0? Remember, x represents the speed. So let's check this out. If we were to turn this trinomial into two binomials, we have, obviously, how would we get this first part? X squared, you know, you FOIL the first. What would the first two things be? Well, it'd be x times x. That would give us that x squared, wouldn't it? Now, what about this last part? 2,000. This is a little bit more interesting, isn't it? What could give us 2,000? Well, it's going to have several zeros in it, right? And I'm going to ignore these two zeros. I'm going to think, what could give me maybe 20? 5 and 4, right? So maybe it's going to be 50 times 20. Slap that in your calculator. 50 times 20. That's a terrible 50. 50 times 40, actually. That does equal 2,000. So I know I got 50 on one side, and I got 40 on the other, right? So what I have here is, but I got to decide, are they positive or negative? So their product, when you multiply them together, ends up being negative. Now, to have a negative product, I know one of these two whole numbers, 50 or 40, has to be negative. The hint is, when we add together, when we do the O and the I, outside and inside, we're going to get 50x and 40x. Adding those together will get us a positive 10. How will that work? Well, let's try it out. If I did negative 40 times x, I'd have a negative 40x, and a positive 50x, positive 50x minus 40x would get me 10x. So look, this foils out back to the trinomial I have up top. So let's just backwards FOIL it right now. First, x times x, x squared. That works. Outside, x, that'd be negative 40x. Inside, 50x. So negative 40x plus 50x, we got 10x. And positive 50 times negative 40 is negative 2,000. Awesome. Now, what we want to do is we want to find what correct value of x equals 0. These two give us different options, don't they? Because if either of these equals 0, the whole thing equals 0. Because look, this term is multiplied by that one. So inside here, what could give me 0? Well, if I had a negative 50 as x being my speed, that would give me a 0 and make this all equal. Remember, if x equals speed, can I go negative 50 speed? No. This one isn't giving me any answers. But what about this one? If I make my speed being x 40, 40 minus 40 does equal 0. So I find that the speed of 40 fits this equation when I've plugged in a distance of 150 feet. You will find that 40 is the correct answer, and the letter answer H. Great job.